Captain Jake Morrison stared at the main screen of his exploration ship, UES Frontier, and could not believe what he was seeing in the asteroid belt of the Kepler 442 system. The massive object floating among the space rocks was definitely not natural, and it was definitely not alien either, because Jake had seen enough alien ships in his 20 years of service to know their sleek, curved designs and strange materials. This thing was angular and brutal, looking like something humans would build. But that was impossible, because no human ship had ever been this far from Earth, and certainly no human ship had ever been built this large. The object was nearly 2 kilometers long, which made it bigger than any ship in Earth's current fleet, and its hull was dark gray metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes, who served as the ship's xenoarchaeologist, was running every scan she could think of while her fingers danced across her control panel. Jake watched her work and noticed the confusion growing on her face as each scan came back with results that made no sense. The metal composition showed elements that were definitely from Earth's periodic table, but arranged in ways that human science said should be impossible, and the energy reading suggested that whatever this thing was, it still had power after floating in space for who knew how long. Commander Rick Stone stood beside Jake's command chair and shook his head slowly as he read the preliminary reports. Rick had been Jake's first officer for 5 years, and they had explored dozens of systems together, but neither man had ever encountered anything like this before. The ship's computer finally finished its analysis and announced, in its calm electronic voice, that the object showed signs of human manufacturing techniques, but incorporated technology that was decades ahead of anything in Earth's database. Jake felt his heart rate increase as he realized what they might have found, but he forced himself to stay calm because his crew was looking to him for leadership. Lisa suddenly looked up from her station with wide eyes and announced that she had found hull markings near what appeared to be the ship's bow section. The markings were in English, and they read UES Vengeance, which made Jake's blood run cold, because he had memorized every ship name in Earth's registry during his academy training, and no ship called Vengeance had ever been built. Rick immediately pulled up the fleet database on his portable unit and confirmed what Jake already suspected, which was that no record of any ship named Vengeance existed in any Earth military or civilian registry. The Discovery team spent the next hour taking detailed scans of the mysterious vessel while Jake tried to figure out what to do next. The ship appeared to be intact, with no obvious battle damage or signs of catastrophic failure, which meant that whatever had happened to its crew might not have been violent. Lisa reported that her carbon dating equipment was giving readings that suggested the ship was over 200 years old, but that seemed impossible because humans had only been traveling between star systems for about 150 years. The ship's quantum signature was definitely human, though, which meant that wherever this vessel had come from, it had been built by people from Earth or one of Earth's colonies. Jake finally made the decision that his crew needed to board the unknown vessel and try to find some answers about where it came from and what had happened to the people who built it. Chief Security Officer Amy Rodriguez began preparing her Marines for a boarding operation, while Chief Engineer Pete Collins gathered his technical team to assess the ship's systems. The Frontier moved closer to the mysterious vessel, and Jake could see more details of its construction through the main viewer. The ship's design was unlike anything he had ever seen before, with weapon systems that looked incredibly advanced and armor plating that was thicker than anything in Earth's current fleet. The vessel had what appeared to be launch bays for smaller craft and sensor arrays that were far more sophisticated than the ones on his own ship. As they approached the larger vessel, Jake noticed that some of its external lights were still functioning, which meant that its power systems were at least partially operational after all these years in space. Lisa detected an airlock that appeared to be compatible with their boarding equipment, and Jake gave the order to prepare for docking. The docking procedure took longer than usual because the unknown ship's systems kept trying to scan the Frontier with sensors that were more powerful than anything Jake's ship carried. Finally, their ships connected with a solid clang that echoed through both vessels, and Jake felt the artificial gravity system synchronize. Amy led her boarding team through the airlock while Pete and his engineers followed close behind with their equipment cases and portable power units. Jake stayed on the Frontier's bridge, but he kept an open communication channel so he could hear everything that was happening on the other ship. The boarding team reported that the corridors were dimly lit, but the air was breathable and the artificial gravity was functioning normally. Pete's readings showed that the ship's main power systems were running at about 30% capacity, which was remarkable for a vessel that had been drifting in space for 2 centuries. Amy's team moved carefully through the ship's corridors, while their helmet cameras transmitted everything back to Jake on the Frontier's main screen. The interior of the ship was as impressive as its exterior, with corridors that were wider than those on Earth ships, and walls that were lined with systems that Jake did not recognize. The team found what appeared to be crew quarters that were larger and more comfortable than anything on current Earth vessels, and the furniture and personal items they discovered were definitely of human origin. Lisa's voice came through the communication system with excitement as she reported finding a computer terminal that was still active and showing information in English. The terminal displayed what appeared to be a ship's status report, but the technology it described was far beyond anything that Earth's current fleet possessed. Jake listened to the reports from his boarding team and felt a mixture of excitement and worry about what they were discovering. This ship represented technology that could change everything for humanity, but it also raised questions about where it had come from and why no one on Earth knew about it. The mystery deepened when Amy reported finding what appeared to be a ship's library filled with data storage devices that contained information about human colonies that were not in any Earth database. Jake realized that they had stumbled upon something that could reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the galaxy, but he also knew that such discoveries often came with dangers. As his crew continued to explore the mysterious vessel, Jake wondered what other secrets they would uncover and whether those secrets would prove to be humanity's salvation or its doom. While the hegemony fleet moved into attack formation, Jake Morrison's crew aboard the Vengeance made a discovery that would change everything they thought they knew about humanity. Lisa Hayes had been working frantically to download information from the ship's databases when she found files that had been sealed with the highest security protocols. Aria explained that these files contained information that Admiral Clark had considered too dangerous to share, but that the current crisis made secrecy impossible. The AI unlocked the files, and what Lisa found inside made her call Jake immediately with a voice that was shaking with excitement and fear. According to the sealed records, humans had not evolved on Earth as everyone believed, but had been brought there thousands of years ago by an ancient alien race. The documents included genetic analysis that proved human DNA contained markers that were not found in any other Earth species. More shocking was the revelation that humans had originally been scattered across dozens of worlds throughout the galaxy by beings called the Preservers. These ancient aliens had rescued humanity from some catastrophe that the records did not clearly explain, but that had threatened to destroy the entire human race. Earth was just one of many refuge worlds where humans had been hidden until they were ready to reclaim their true heritage. The Preservers had given humans false memories and primitive technology to keep them safe from something the records referred to only as the Great Enemy. But the most incredible revelation was that humans were apparently descended from a race called the Architects, who had once ruled the galaxy before mysteriously vanishing. The Architects had built the advanced technology that Admiral Clark's colonists had found and had left it specifically for their human descendants to discover. Arya explained that human brains were uniquely capable of interfacing with Architect technology in ways that no other known species could match. This was why the colonists had been able to advance so quickly after finding the ancient facility, and why humans could adapt alien technology so effectively. Communication Officer Tony Garcia intercepted hegemony. Transmissions that revealed the aliens' true fear was not just about humans having advanced technology. The transmissions showed that hegemony leaders believed humans were the returning descendants of their ancient masters, and that humanity's awakening meant the end of alien dominance. General Corthan, who commanded the hegemony ground forces, was discussing with Admiral Zextar the possibility that humans might remember their true nature and reclaim the galaxy. The aliens were terrified that humanity would discover other hidden colonies and unite them into a force that could challenge the hegemony's control over thousands of worlds. Pete Collins was amazed to discover that the Vengeance's technology responded to his commands in ways that seemed almost intuitive. The ship's systems appeared to be designed specifically for human operators, with interfaces that felt natural, despite being unlike anything from Earth. Area confirmed that Architect technology was created to work in harmony with human consciousness. and that this was why no other species had ever been able to master it effectively. The AI showed Pete technical specifications that revealed the true scope of what humans were capable of achieving with their inherited technology. There were plans for ships that could travel between galaxies in hours, and weapons that could reshape space itself. The most impressive discovery was that humans could potentially terraform entire star systems and create artificial worlds that would be paradise for any species. But the records also contained warnings about the responsibility that came with such power. The original architects had apparently destroyed themselves in a civil war, fought with weapons that could eliminate entire dimensions of reality. The preservers had scattered humanity specifically to prevent them from making the same mistakes their ancestors had made. Aria's core programming contained messages from Admiral Clark, explaining that the colony had discovered 12 other human settlements. Each colony had developed along different paths, with some focusing on military technology, while others had advanced medicine or terraforming science. New Sparta had created warriors who could fight entire armies single-handedly, using powered armor that made them nearly invincible. New Geneva had developed medical technology that could resurrect the dead and cure any disease or injury. New Tokyo had mastered quantum computing and artificial intelligence that could predict the future with perfect accuracy. Earth itself was supposed to be the gathering point where all the colonies would unite when humanity was ready to reclaim their galactic heritage. But the hegemony's arrival meant that the reunion would have to happen, under combat conditions rather than peaceful circumstances. Jake realized that the battle they were about to fight was not just about survival, but about awakening humanity's true potential. Aria began transmitting coded signals using the ancient, architect communication networks that the hegemony could not intercept or decode. The signals were being sent to every human colony with the message that Earth had been discovered and that the time for hiding was over. Within hours, responses began, coming back from human settlements that had been secret for centuries. The colony of New Sparta confirmed that their battle fleets were already moving toward Earth's location. New Geneva announced that their medical ships were prepared to support any combat operations. New Tokyo reported that their advanced computer systems had calculated the optimal strategy for defeating the hegemony. Each colony had preserved different aspects of their architect heritage, and together they possessed technology that was far beyond what any single world could achieve. But Jake knew that even with help from the hidden colonies, they still faced an enemy that controlled most of the galaxy. The hegemony had enslaved thousands of species and commanded fleets that numbered in the millions of ships. Area showed him tactical assessments that revealed the true scope of what humanity was facing. The alien empire controlled over 50,000 star systems and had a military force that could destroy entire sectors of the galaxy. But the AI also showed him something else that gave him hope. Throughout their empire, the hegemony ruled through fear and oppression, which meant that billions of beings would welcome human liberation. Many alien species remembered legends about the architects and would recognize humans as their descendants. The return of humanity could trigger massive rebellions that would tear the hegemony apart from within. Jake realized that this battle was not just about human survival, but about freeing the entire galaxy from thousands of years of tyrannical rule. As the hegemony fleet prepared to attack, Jake opened communication channels to his scattered crew and told them the truth about what they were fighting for. The battle ahead would determine whether humanity would reclaim their birthright as the galaxy's protectors or be destroyed before they could fulfill their destiny. Aria announced that the first human reinforcements were already entering the system and that Admiral Zexstar was about to face the awakening power of Earth's true children. The first sign that everything was about to change came when Admiral Zexstar's sensors detected massive energy signatures appearing throughout the Kepler 442 system. Ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel in formations that the hegemony commander had never seen before, using technology that should not have existed. Jake Morrison watched from the Vengeance's bridge as vessel after vessel materialized around them, with designs that were clearly human, but far more advanced than anything Earth had ever produced. The ships from New Sparta were sleek destroyers bristling with weapons that could punch through any armor, while the vessels from New Geneva were massive carriers that launched swarms of smaller craft. New Tokyo's contribution was a single enormous ship that seemed to bend space around itself and radiated energy patterns that made the hegemony fleet sensors go crazy with confused readings. Communication Officer Tony Garcia was coordinating with the arriving fleets, using the ancient architect communication systems that Area had taught him to operate. Each colony had brought their best ships and their most experienced crews, but more importantly, they had brought hope that humanity could finally stand united. Captain Morrison found himself in command of the largest human fleet that had ever been assembled, with ships representing technology from dozens of hidden colonies. The combined human force numbered over 300 vessels against the hegemony's 12. But Jake knew that the alien ships were much larger and more heavily armed. Area provided tactical analysis that showed the human fleet's advantages lay in speed and adaptability rather than raw firepower. The architect-derived technology allowed human ships to coordinate their attacks with precision that no enemy could match. Admiral Zexitar opened communication channels and demanded to know where the additional human ships had come from. His voice carried a note of uncertainty that had not been there before as he realized that he was facing something the hegemony had never encountered. Jake Morrison answered the alien admiral's questions with words that would echo throughout galactic history. He told Zextar that humanity was reclaiming their birthright as the descendants of the architects and that the age of hegemony oppression was ending. The alien admiral's response was immediate and violent as he ordered his entire fleet to attack with everything they had. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, with human ships using tactics and technology that confused and overwhelmed their enemies. The vessels from New Sparta fought like wolves in coordinated packs that stripped away the hegemony's defensive formations. New Geneva's carriers launched medical ships that could repair damaged human vessels in the middle of combat, while also jamming enemy sensors. New Tokyo's massive ship revealed its true purpose when it began generating weapons that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Jake watched in amazement as his scattered people fought together with a unity that seemed to come from their shared genetic heritage. The human fleet moved like a single organism, with each ship knowing exactly where the others would be and what they would do. Pete Collins reported from the Vengeance's engineering section that the ship's systems were responding to the battle like they had been waiting centuries for this moment. The ancient architect technology was awakening throughout the human fleet as genetic locks were released by the stress and excitement of combat. Carmen Lopez found that her weapon systems could now target multiple enemies simultaneously across impossible distances. Danny Walsh discovered that his navigation systems could predict enemy movements before the aliens even made their decisions. But the most important change was happening to Jake himself, as he felt his consciousness expanding to encompass the entire battle through Area's network. He could sense every human ship and coordinate their movements with thoughts rather than words. The hegemony fleet found itself facing an enemy that anticipated every move and countered every strategy. Admiral Zextar's flagship came under direct assault from 5 human vessels working in perfect coordination. The alien commander watched in horror as his supposedly invincible dreadnought was systematically torn apart by weapons that ignored his shields and armor. Within 2 hours of the battle's beginning, the hegemony fleet was reduced to scattered wreckage floating among the asteroids. Admiral Zextar himself was captured when his command ship's life support was disabled, and human marines boarded to take prisoners. Jake Morrison stood face to face with the alien admiral in the Vengeance's detention bay and saw fear in those glowing eyes for the first time. Zextar asked how humans had acquired such advanced technology so quickly. Jake explained that they had not acquired it, but had simply remembered what they had always been capable of achieving. The captured admiral revealed that the hegemony had been preparing for this day for thousands of years. According to ancient records, the architects had not simply vanished, but had been deliberately scattered by an enemy that feared their power. The hegemony itself had been created by beings called the Devourers, who had sought to prevent the architects from ever returning. But the Devourers had made a critical mistake. By underestimating human determination and adaptability, Jake learned that throughout the galaxy, other species were already rebelling as news of the hegemony's defeat. Spread worlds that had been enslaved for centuries were declaring independence, while alien fleets were surrendering rather than face human forces. The domino effect was happening faster than anyone had anticipated, with entire sectors breaking away from hegemony. Control Lisa Hayes coordinated with the other colonies to establish what they called the Galactic Liberation Council. The organization's purpose was not to replace the hegemony with human rule, but to help every species achieve freedom and self-determination. Engineer specialist Maria Santos worked with alien refugees to design new technologies that would benefit everyone. Dr. Tech Officer Chris Parker led medical teams that began healing worlds that had been damaged by centuries of oppression. Within months, the tyrannical empire that had controlled the galaxy for millennia had completely collapsed. Former hegemony worlds were joining the Liberation Council voluntarily, as they saw that humans were offering partnership rather than conquest. The human colonies that had been hidden for centuries emerged from secrecy to share their knowledge with the galaxy Earth itself, became the capital of a new galactic civilization based on freedom and cooperation rather than fear and domination. Jake Morrison found himself serving as the first human representative to the Galactic Council, where hundreds of species worked together as equals. The lost warship Vengeance had become a symbol of hope throughout the galaxy as beings everywhere learned that even the most powerful oppressor could be defeated. Aria was installed as the Council's central computer system, where she helped coordinate peaceful development across thousands of worlds. The ancient architect technology was shared freely with any species that wanted to use it for peaceful purposes. But Jake knew that the real victory was not the technology or the military triumph, but the proof that cooperation was stronger than conquest. Humanity had shocked the galaxy, not by becoming its new masters, but by showing that freedom and unity could overcome any tyranny. The lost warship of Earth had indeed changed everything, but not in the way anyone had expected. When Captain Jake Morrison first detected that mysterious object floating among the asteroids. Jake Morrison was still trying to process everything Aria had told them when the Frontier's long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures entering the Kepler 442 system. Commander Rick Stone's voice was tight with tension as he reported that 12 unknown vessels had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system and were heading directly toward their position. The ships were enormous, with the smallest one being at least 3 times the size of the Frontier, and their design was unlike anything in Earth's databases. Aria's voice came through the communication system from the Vengeance, with a tone that Jake had not heard from the AI before, which was something close to fear. The AI confirmed that the approaching vessels matched known hegemony configurations, and that their lead ship was a command dreadnought under the control of Admiral Zexstar, who was known throughout the galaxy for his brutality. Jake ordered his boarding team to return immediately to the Frontier, but Aria interrupted and explained that there was not enough time for evacuation. The hegemony fleet would arrive at their position in less than 2 hours, and the Frontier would not be able to outrun ships that were designed for galactic patrol duties. Aria suggested that Jake's entire crew transfer to the Vengeance, which had the speed and firepower to potentially escape or fight the approaching fleet. Pete Collins reported that the transfer would take at least 4 hours to complete safely, and Jake realized that they were trapped between impossible choices. Amy Rodriguez asked Aria about the Vengeance's combat capabilities against 12 hegemony warships, and the AI's response was not encouraging, according to her tactical analysis. The Vengeance could probably destroy 3 or 4 of the enemy ships before being overwhelmed by superior numbers. Lisa Hayes was frantically downloading as much information as possible from the Vengeance's databases, while Rick coordinated the emergency transfer of critical personnel. Jake made the decision to split his crew with essential personnel, staying on the Frontier to maintain operations, while volunteers transferred to help operate the Advanced Warship. Chief Tactical Officer Ryan Murphy and systems analyst Kelly Barnes immediately volunteered to help Aria bring the Vengeance's weapon systems online. Navigator Danny Walsh and weapons specialist Carmen Lopez also transferred to the mysterious vessel, along with Pete's best engineers. Jake remained on the Frontier's bridge with Rick and Lisa, while maintaining constant communication with the team aboard the Vengeance. The hegemony fleet continued its approach, and soon Jake could see the alien ships clearly on his main viewer. The vessels were dark and angular, with surfaces that seemed to absorb light and sensor arrays that were actively scanning everything in the system. The lead ship was massive beyond anything Jake had ever imagined, with weapon ports that could probably destroy a planet and armor that looked thick enough to stop anything Earth's military could produce. A communication signal came from the hegemony fleet, and Jake reluctantly ordered his communications officer, Tony Garcia, to open a channel. The being that appeared on the main screen was definitely not human. With gray skin that looked like stone and eyes that glowed with an inner light, Admiral Zexitar spoke in perfect English, and his voice carried authority that came from commanding fleets across the galaxy. The alien admiral demanded the immediate surrender of both human vessels and all personnel aboard them. Zexitar explained that humans had stolen advanced technology that belonged to the hegemony, and that such theft was punishable by the complete destruction of the thieves' homeworld. Jake tried to explain that they had simply discovered the abandoned vessel and had not stolen anything from anyone. But Zexitar cut him off and declared that all human activity beyond their home system was illegal, and that Earth itself existed only because the hegemony had not yet decided to eliminate it. The alien admiral gave Jake 1 hour to surrender both ships and submit to hegemony justice or face the consequences of resistance. Jake closed the communication channel and immediately contacted the team aboard the Vengeance. Area reported that the ship's primary systems were coming online, but that full combat readiness would take at least another hour. Ryan Murphy was working frantically to understand the weapon control systems while Pete's engineers struggled to comprehend technology that was centuries ahead of anything they had trained on. Carmen Lopez reported that the Vengeance's missile systems alone contained enough firepower to level a continent, but learning to use them effectively would take time. They did not have. Danny Walsh was studying the ship's faster-than-light drive and estimated that they could outrun the hegemony fleet if they could get the engines to full power, but Area warned that running away would only delay the inevitable, because the hegemony would simply track them back to Earth. The AI suggested that their only real option was to fight and hope that the Vengeance's advanced technology could even the odds against superior numbers. Jake found himself facing the most important decision of his life, knowing that whatever choice he made would affect not just his crew, but possibly all of humanity. Rick Stone joined the tactical discussion and pointed out that surrendering would probably result in the torture and execution of everyone aboard both ships. Lisa Hayes had been studying the historical records that Aria provided and reported that the hegemony had never shown mercy to species that possessed advanced technology. According to the records, any civilization that developed beyond primitive levels was either subjugated completely or destroyed as an example to others. Jake realized that the hegemony's arrival was not just about recovering stolen technology, but about preventing humanity from becoming a threat to their galactic dominance. Aria began providing more detailed information about hegemony tactics and weaknesses, while the alien fleet continued its steady approach toward their position. The AI explained that hegemony commanders were overconfident because they had not faced serious resistance in thousands of years. Their ships were powerful, but their designs had not changed significantly in centuries because they had not needed to adapt to new threats. The Vengeance's technology was based on science that was far older than anything the hegemony possessed, and might give them advantages that the aliens would not expect. Amy Rodriguez reported from the Vengeance that her Marines were learning to operate advanced personal weapons that could cut through any known armor. Pete Collins was amazed by the ship's engineering systems, which could repair battle damage automatically and manufacture replacement parts from raw materials as the hour deadline approached. Jake made his decision and opened a communication channel to Admiral Zexitar. The alien admiral appeared on screen expecting to hear Jake's surrender, but instead heard something that surprised him. Jake Morrison looked directly at the camera and told Admiral Zexitar that humanity rejected hegemony authority and would fight to defend their freedom. Zexitar's glowing eyes widened with what might have been surprise or amusement as he realized that these primitive humans intended to resist his overwhelming fleet. The alien admiral smiled with what looked like genuine pleasure as he gave the order for his ships to attack and destroy both human vessels. Jake closed the communication channel and gave the order that would change the course of galactic history as he told his crews on both ships to prepare for battle. The boarding team had been exploring the mysterious vessel for 3 hours when Chief Engineer Pete Collins made a discovery that changed everything. Pete was examining what appeared to be the ship's main computer core, when suddenly all the screens around him lit up with bright blue light and a gentle female voice filled the corridor. The voice spoke perfect English and introduced itself as ARIA, which stood for Advanced Reconnaissance and Intelligence Assistant, and claimed to be the ship's artificial intelligence system. Jake listened from the Frontier's bridge as ARIA explained that she had been waiting in low power mode for human contact, and had activated when she detected Earth origin genetic markers from the boarding team. Amy, Rodriguez and her Marines immediately raised their weapons, but ARIA calmly assured them that she meant no harm and was programmed to assist and protect human life above all other priorities. Lisa Hayes rushed to the nearest terminal and began asking ARIA questions about the ship's origin. While Pete continued his examination of the computer systems, ARIA's responses were both fascinating and disturbing, as she revealed that the UES Vengeance had been built by a human colony that had been established 300 years ago by pioneers who had discovered ancient alien technology. According to ARIA, the colonists had found a massive alien facility on a planet in the Vega system, and inside that facility, they had discovered technology that was millions of years old. The colony's leader had been Admiral Susan Clark, who had made the decision to use the alien technology to advance human capabilities far beyond what Earth had achieved. ARIA showed the boarding team holographic records of the colony, which had grown to over 2 million people living on a world that had been transformed into a paradise, using alien terraforming technology. The colonists had built a fleet of advanced ships, using a combination of human engineering and alien science, and had begun exploring the galaxy far beyond Earth's current reach. Lisa asked ARIA why Earth had no knowledge of this colony, and the AI explained that Admiral Clark had made the decision to remain hidden until humanity was ready for the truth about what lay beyond their current borders. The alien technology had allowed the colonists to advance their understanding of physics and engineering by thousands of years in just a few decades. They had developed faster than light, travel that made Earth's current engines look like steam locomotives and weapon systems that could destroy entire fleets with single shots. Pete examined the ship's technical specifications that ARIA displayed and realized that the Vengeance was, essentially, a mobile fortress that could probably defeat Earth's entire space navy, single-handedly. But ARIA's story took a dark turn when she began explaining why the ship was drifting empty in space instead of protecting the colony that had built. The colony had been discovered by something called the Hegemony, which ARIA described as a massive alien empire that controlled most of the galaxy through fear and overwhelming military force. The Hegemony's scouts had detected the advanced human technology and had sent a massive fleet to investigate what they considered to be impossible. When they arrived at the colony world, they had demanded that the humans surrender all their technology and submit to Hegemony rule as primitive subjects. Admiral Clark had refused, and the result had been a war that lasted for 3 years and devastated both sides. ARIA showed holographic records of battles that were beyond anything Jake had ever imagined, with ships the size of small moons fighting across multiple star systems. The human colony had fought bravely, but they were vastly outnumbered and eventually realized that they could not win a direct military confrontation. Admiral Clark had made the desperate decision to evacuate the colony and scatter the population across hidden bases throughout the galaxy, while sending the Vengeance back toward Earth as both a warning and a gift. The ship had been damaged during the evacuation battle and had drifted in space for decades, while its automated systems slowly repaired the most critical damage. ARIA explained that she had been programmed to wait for contact with Earth humans and then share the colony's accumulated knowledge to help humanity prepare for what was coming. According to the AI, the Hegemony considered humans to be a threat that needed to be eliminated and would eventually track down Earth itself. Lisa asked ARIA about the alien technology that had made the colony's advancement possible, and the AI began displaying technical specifications that made Pete's eyes light up with excitement. The technology included matter replicators that could create anything from raw materials and energy shields that could protect entire planets from attack. There were also medical systems that could cure any disease and extend human lifespans by centuries, and terraforming equipment that could make any planet suitable for human habitation. Most impressive of all were the communication systems that allowed instant contact across galactic distances and the manufacturing systems that could build entire fleets in a matter of weeks. Jake realized that the technology ARIA was describing could transform Earth from a single-planet civilization into a galactic superpower almost overnight, but Arya also warned that the technology came with dangers because the hegemony would stop at nothing to prevent humans from using it. The AI showed records of other species that had tried to use similar technology and had been completely exterminated by hegemony forces as examples to others. Amy asked Arya if the ship's weapon systems were functional, and the AI confirmed that the Vengeance was ready for combat, despite its long drift through space. The ship's main weapons included particle beam, cannons that could punch through any known armor and missile systems that could destroy targets from across entire star systems. Pete asked about the ship's crew requirements, and Arya explained that the advanced automation systems allowed the vessel to be operated by as few as 50 people, instead of the thousands that a ship of its size would normally require. Jake listened to all this information from the Frontier's bridge and realized that his crew faced an impossible decision. They could take the Vengeance and its advanced technology back to Earth, which would give humanity incredible power, but would also certainly attract the attention of the hegemony, or they could leave the ship where it was and continue with their original mission. But that would mean abandoning technology that could save the human race. Arya seemed to sense Jake's dilemma and gently suggested that the choice might already be made, because the hegemony had been searching for the Vengeance for decades. According to the AI's sensors, long-range detection systems had picked up energy signatures that matched known hegemony scout ships heading toward their current location. Jake felt his stomach drop as he realized that contact with the mysterious vessel might have already doomed his crew and possibly Earth itself. Arya's calm voice continued to provide technical information, but Jake could hear the underlying urgency as the AI explained that they had perhaps days before hegemony forces would arrive in the system.